Hey everyone, Bill Lethman here for MoneyEvolution.com. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a question that we've been getting from a number of our financial planning clients. There seems to be a lot of confusion around some of the terminology related to the backdoor Roth IRA strategy and the mega backdoor Roth IRA strategy. So what I thought I would do in this video is clear up a little bit of that confusion, maybe take a little bit of a dive into some of the mechanics of these different strategies, and ultimately maybe see if this is something that may be appropriate for you and your retirement situation. But real quick, before we get into the content of the video here, this is something that I get into in great detail in my retirement planning course called the Retirement Time Machine. So if you'd like to learn some more information about that, you can go over to retirementtimemachine.com, check out some of the information on that page. There's also going to be some links down in the description below. Okay, so I think one of the areas that may be causing some confusion is really related to understanding some of the terminology here. And in particular here, the difference between contributions and conversions. And with some of the conversations that we've had with some of our clients, some people are using that terminology interchangeably, but they are two very different things. So when we talk about contributions, and as we talk about, let's say, the backdoor Roth IRA strategy, what that's really going to involve is putting money into the traditional IRA account. So that's going to be a contribution. And again, according to our rules, we can, depending on our age, put $6,000 if we're under 50, $7,000 if we're 50 years old or older. That money we're going to assume is going to be contributed on an after-tax basis. Okay, so money that's already been taxed. And then the conversion part comes in where we move that money over to our Roth IRA, and that's called the conversion. And again, because we've already paid taxes on that original contribution, when we convert it over to the Roth account, there are no further taxes in that situation. Now, one really important thing to understand here as it relates to doing this backdoor Roth IRA contribution strategy is this really only works if you don't have any other existing IRA accounts. If you do have existing IRAs, something called the pro rata rules come into effect here. And the way the IRS looks at this is even if you contribute that $6,000 or $7,000 to a brand new IRA account, they're going to look at your IRA balances as a collective of all of your IRAs. And if you have, let's say, an existing IRA account that also has $7,000 in it, they're going to look at this and say, once you make that additional new $7,000 contribution, you now have total IRAs of $14,000. Let's say this existing IRA was done with pre-tax money. The way the IRS would actually look at this is they would say, okay, you now have one IRA or one basket of IRAs totaling $14,000. Half of that is money that's already been taxed. Half of that money is money that has not been taxed yet. So if you wanted to do a Roth conversion, and if you only did, let's say, $7,000, half of that's going to be taxable, half of it's going to be non-taxable, and it's not going to obviously accomplish what you want. So those pro rata rules can get into a lot of detail there, but just understand that if you have existing IRA accounts, that's going to become really complicated, and what ends up happening is if you don't convert the whole IRA at that point, again, regardless of how many IRAs you have, the IRS is going to look at it as one big basket, and it's going to now consist of both pre-tax and after-tax, and it's going to be something you're going to have to keep track of for the rest of the time that you have that IRA account. So that's how the backdoor Roth IRA strategy works. Now, the other type of backdoor strategy is going to refer to the what I call mega backdoor. And that's going to be for employer-sponsored plans like 401ks, 403bs possibly. And it's really going to be something available to you if you have an after-tax savings option within that 401k plan. So if your employer offers an after-tax savings option, what that does is it allows you to save over and above those kind of preset contribution limits, the $20,500 if you're under 50 and the $27,000 if you're 50 years old or older, assuming in 2022 here. But it allows you to go beyond that. And again, if you're under 50 years old, you can actually have as much as $61,000 a year going into your retirement accounts, and that's going to be a combination of your pre-tax or your Roth regular contributions up to that, let's say, $27,000. It would be any match that's in there, and then whatever is left can be in that after-tax bucket all the way up to that $67,500 for 2022. So if your employer offers this and you have that ability to contribute above that $27,000 limit, if you're 50 years old or older, you're going to be able to put money essentially into that after-tax account. That's money that's already been taxed. And then you can either do, if the plan allows it, you can either do a Roth conversion in plan. And that's going to basically be to move that within your 401k, but it's going to go into your Roth 401k. Or what we've been doing for more of our clients, and it's been around as an option a lot longer, is to do that in a Roth IRA. And so, again, you're going to have to look at what the rules are of the plan and see what they allow for, but maybe that you can do that once a year, maybe a couple times a year, essentially move that money from your after-tax account to your Roth. And one of the nice things about that is you can get more money into your Roth IRA account even if you're over the income limits. Now, one of the other really important things to understand is how the mechanics of that work here. And let's say that you're contributing money, let's say every pay period, into that after-tax account, and let's say throughout the year you put in $10,000 into that account. Well, if that money is invested, there's probably going to be some growth, hopefully, in that account, and maybe that account grows to $12,000. And at the end of the year, you decide that, hey, I'm going to do my conversion. I'm going to take that after-tax money. I'm going to roll it over to my Roth IRA account. You now have $10,000 that's pre-tax, that's already been taxed, of course, and then you have $2,000 that's essentially your gain. And so, again, each plan may have slightly different rules, but you may be able to separate that money, roll over your $10,000 into your Roth account, and then I think what we've seen most often with our clients is the ability to just leave that $2,000 in there as a gain. And that essentially is going to be tax deferred, really not a whole lot different than some of the other pre-tax deferred money that you have, like your regular 401k contributions that you may have made on a pre-tax basis. It's money that hasn't been taxed yet, and it will be taxed later when you go to take that money out in retirement. All right, now one last thing that's been giving some people a little bit of confusion here, and that is talking about some of the IRS income restrictions and the limitations as it relates to doing conversions. So first of all, let's talk about the income limitations. So the ability to contribute money to a traditional IRA account, remember, there are no income limits on that. The same thing would be true of getting money into that after-tax account. So there are no income restrictions the IRS imposes on that. And again, going back to what we talked about earlier, the difference between the contributions and conversions, again, sometimes contributions have limits to how much money can go in, but there are no limits on conversion. So that's another thing that kind of confuses people. People think that they can only convert $6,000 a year or $7,000 a year, but remember, that's the contribution limit, and the conversions, there is no restriction on how much money you can convert. The last thing I'll say as well is some people may have money in an after-tax account that maybe has been hanging out there for a while. Maybe you didn't know that this was eligible to roll over to a Roth IRA account, so you may have some of that old money. You might even have a lot of money. We've seen some clients that have quite a bit there, and again, that's going to take a little bit more to kind of get through that and figure out what's the best strategy with that, because you might have a lot more of that gain. But again, as long as your 401k provider allows you to separate that, you can at least hopefully extract out the pre-tax portion of that, leave that in your plan, and then roll out the after-tax, or the money that was your original after-tax contribution, and then get that money over to a Roth IRA. So anyway, there you have it. Hopefully you got some great valuable information out of the video. Remember, if you want to get into a lot more detail planning for your retirement, go to retirementtimemachine.com, and you can check out the information about our course. Thanks, and I'll see you back in the next video.